again to Conversation with Kelly. This is the after show where we get a little bit more relaxed. I don't know if our teens are going to be relaxed because it seems like to me they should have bull eye right here on their forehead. So we will take, actually I will see some, we have some questions that we didn't get to. I did this one? Are more kids followers or leaders these days?
That's a good question. Followers.
Followers? You said both?
I think there's a lot of leaders. It's just, what are you leading your people to?
That's good. If you have friends who think they are leaders, how have you not become a follower?
Being your own leader.
I don't know if I understand the question. Do you?
Like, if you have friends that are leading, like, that are just leaders, how do you not become a follower of what they're doing? Like,
Okay.
Correct.
that must be from him.
Okay, what or who helped you become who you are?
God. God.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Okay.
Jesus.
Is that the only person that helped Justin?
With some of the questions, there may be follow-ups to the question. What I mean from the audience, because if you go through them, we might forget where you are. Because
Okay.
I have a follow-up to the one you just went by.
This one right here?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Because if you are not caught up in following someone else and you are your own leader, then for those of you who answer that you're Christians and you're in the church and so on and so forth, how do you use your ability for leadership to lead others in the right direction? And are you using your leadership ability to do that? Or do you just remain silent and just let the train go by? No pun.
I'm sitting here with you. Are we on that same train or we got another train? Are we still riding the same train? Oh, okay. What train we on? Jazz? Are y'all just sitting back letting it happen or are you just observing?
I would say, yeah. There's always something you can do, but sometimes you don't want to take that step because you're afraid of how the turnout's going to be.
Right, like, just piggybacking off of what you said, like, you kind of, like, want to do something, but at the same time, you don't feel it's your responsibility. Like, because it's like...
You don't want to get into somebody else's
Right, you don't want to be in somebody else's business. So, like, the way that I just try to lead by example. I don't necessarily go up to people, like, and talk to them, like, my age. Like, I'll talk to the younger students, like, the middle school students. Like, if I see them do this time, I'll talk to those people. But, I don't know, I really don't try to reach
I think
out.
we should never approach without prayer first. And that's a teen, adult, anybody. I think we should pray first. Also, we have to be careful when we're approaching because if you're approaching and you're raggedy, they're not going to receive that very well. That's like, oh, let's go to Facebook. That's like putting all these scriptures on Facebook, but then you doing something opposite at school. Who's going to receive that? And that's what we have to be careful as believers is when we let our light shine, we have to let our light shine all the time. And not
Could you let that dog hunt all the way? Because I really would like to know exactly
I don't understand dog hunting, but go ahead.
what I mean is let the teams kind of approach that all the way because I still would like to know with regards to their role in leadership. I'm hearing Meshach, I think, say that he just kind of lets it go. I'm hearing Jasmine kind of say that she's letting it go, and I just want to make sure that
I think Jasmine is more of she picks and chooses who she talks
right,
to
and
about.
not necessarily. So that's why I'd like to hear the full thought in terms of what they're thinking about their role in leadership, even if it's Kennedy and I just really would like to hear the whole thing.
That was kind of part of the question I was going to ask for Chelsea.
Are y'all just sitting back, kind of letting it roll? If that's the honest answer, that's the honest answer.
Yes, yeah, but if it's your friend, then definitely I'm going to say something. Like, if I'm concerned about you and I care about you, then
But if you're a lame, you're not gonna.
I mean, I don't characterize
Well, I mean, I hear kids tell me, oh, they are lame. Do we care about the lames as well?
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
but you necessarily don't know everybody's situation, but if you kind of know the situation, that could be the first step of trying to help them, but if you don't know, then there's nothing.
Okay. Jackie.
Chelsea may not, I mean, I guess she's somewhat shy, but she tells me some things that she mentors to her friends.
Mhm.
She tells me, you know, when they have problems, she calms them down and things like that. So she may not want to mention that, but she does do that. And she's a leader in her school.
Oh, Chelsea, gosh. So I did hear that you wrote a paper or did an essay on bullying, and we didn't get to touch on that tonight, huh?
I'm still writing about that.
You're still writing about that. What is y'all's feelings about cyberbullying?
It's wrong.
It's wrong. Yeah.
It can like lead to like depression and sometimes suicide.
Do y'all have y'all experienced any of that in school? With not necessarily with, I hope y'all ain't the bulliers, but have you or maybe know somebody that's been bullied?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what happened to? I mean, I know it's probably getting more intense and more worse now, but back in the day when we was getting bullied, I'm going to get my cousin. You know, but I guess things are getting worse and worse and worse, and people are going to using suicide as a mechanism to escape it, or turning around and killing everything they see. So, and then I know what I do want to raise. I want to raise some the Facebook and Twitter wars, where it starts on Facebook and then it ends up at the schools. Is, oh my goodness, it's just. I hope y'all are not involved in that crap, are y'all?
No,
On Twitter,
I've seen it, though.
right, you can see it.
Yeah.
On Twitter?
You can see it on Facebook too, but Twitter is more direct. Like you can just click conversation and you'll see everything that they were talking about. And it's just public, it's so public. So,
But do you know, touching on the case that's actually going on now, and I don't have all the details, and I don't have an opinion one way or the other, because again, all the details haven't came to surface, and I don't like to rush to judge any situation. And again, with the Trayvon Martin case, and how at first they had said, you know, they made it seem like he was this. When I seen the picture, I thought a little boy, like 11, and I thought, oh, he was just going to get candy, da da da. And then as information is coming in, they pulled his Twitter and Facebook records, or maybe it was one of the social networks where he was having conversations on there. And you know that we have a pastor that is always drilling to us about those things that we put out on Facebook. And some of those things that they pulled off there I don't know how I feel about this just yet, but some of the stuff that they're pulling off there, they're building a character for this young man. And it doesn't look nice. And sometimes we can be one way on our Twitter and Facebook accounts, but we can be another way in front of other people. And what I'm saying to you guys tonight, and viewers as well, is you gotta be careful what you put out on Facebook and Twitter, because it will come back to bite you later. And it may not be a case where murder or anything like that, but they do pull it for court cases and things like that. Let me finish my thought. And also, not only that, is there was a girl on one of the social networks that was bothered that the employer could look at that. They can. And these names that we come up with I'm going to make up one for me. Kelly got swag Shaw. Or Kelly, the baddie of the, all these little crazy things, but then you doing all this, and yeah, it's like, when I said I gotta do it like this, Kelly, give me a name. Kelly got swag all day long, Shorty got back. Shaw. Drop it like a hot all day long, Shaw. And then we do all that, but then we get out of high school and we start getting more mature, and then we're ready to go into corporate America. And guess what? Corporate America know that Kelly like to drop it like it's hot. Shaw, Shorty got back, Shaw. And it's kind of like, okay, she's at the interview like this, but this is who you are outside of here. And can I trust Shorty got back? Because if she dropping it like it's hot, that means she might be going to clubs all the time. So that means her performance might be low, and I can't. She's gonna be hungover on Thursdays, and that's how it looks. So you have to be careful. Then you trying to get a job in customer service, but your Facebook status is like F this and blah 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 blah, blah and I get down and hi, welcome to. No, they don't go. It don't match. So be careful with that. And Pastor, you had a
I was just going to interject with regards to jobs. Even here at the church, before I do a new hire, or even before I get officers, I actually check their social network status. And most members of the church don't know that I actually have 2 accounts. So I actually read almost everything with regards to the members of our congregation. Because I'm well accepted as the other person that they don't know who I am. And so I actually read everything. And I would not choose an officer in the church who's sitting in a photo with beer bottles all around hung on. It's not going to happen. And I'm not going to hire anybody like that either. And so, believe it or not, I actually read everything, including every panelist that you have tonight. I've read everything that you all put out there. So I read everything. And so that's why I'm always saying be careful about what you put out there, because you may think that, oh, I didn't accept the pastor as my friend, but you did accept some others as your friend. So I read your stuff. And I know you in a lot of ways. And so you have to be very careful in terms of what you put out there.
and see, you might be like again frustrated or whatever at this age, but it comes back in your 20s and things like that when you finally have gotten to a place where you're no longer involved in the stuff, and then you go to try to do something, and what you're portraying in an interview versus what your history has been, it's kind of like, if we dropping it like it's hot, viewers, and then we try to go somewhere and not drop it, it's not matching. So be careful. Let's be careful with those statuses and things like that. And have you noticed, let's go there, have you noticed that if you put a positive status up, you don't get that many hits? But you put your business out there where Boo and went with such and such, and I'm about to kill her, I'm going over her house, and I'm da-da-da-da-da. Everybody swarms like piranhas onto your stuff. They swarm on it. And I want to just let you just analyze that. Next time you're out on Facebook, put something positive. Oh, the sun is shining so brightly today, and I'm in a great mood. You might get about 2 likes. Put on there, oh, it's about to go down. It's, oh, no, she didn't. Then somebody gonna be like, who you talking? What's going on? What's going on? I know ain't nobody messing with. They don't care about that. They don't care about you. They just want your business. And you look mighty crazy out there. Anything else? I think I got all the questions. I know y'all ready to go into it. Have you ever been approached by any of your friends to try drugs or have sex? If so, how did you handle it, or what advice did you give them?
I've been approached by my friends to try drugs.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Oh, and the drugs that I hear that they're doing, is it prescription drugs? They're Vicodin and Percocets, and they're smashing them up, and they're snorting them. And guess where? On track field. So it ain't just smoking a joint. They're doing pills, and see, pills can go undetected because sometimes we can get the pills right out of our medicine cabinets at home. And they're snorting them, and what's some other drugs that they're doing? Just pills and weed and alcohol.
Heroin. Young kids are doing heroin now.
Are they at school?
I don't know about at school. I have a lot of nieces and nephews that, because they can't talk to their mom, I'm like the cool aunt, so they tell me a lot of things.
You ain't the cool aunt that's supplying it, is
No.
You know, when we used to think about my cool cousin or my cool aunt, that's the one that's going to get the stuff for me.
No, they can talk to me about other things. They tell me about some of their friends that are doing things that, are scaring them, and they ask me how to approach them about
You don't see
it.
heroin? No.
How would you know?
They also use common household things such as canned air or even cough syrup with the
Is that which one?
7-Up syrup.
Scissor.
Scissor.
sipping on some scissor. Is that referring to drinking cough syrup? Okay.
Jolly Ranchers with it.
Jolly Ranchers, those are drugs?
Well, no, they
Oh,
put it
I like
in. It's a
it.
flavor for when they do the.
No, you had a question? Allergy medicine?
You have to sign for it now, and when you sign that, you're saying that you're only gonna buy 1.5.
So what are the teens doing with it? Are they able to cop it themselves?
Crushing it up.
You have
They're
to
crushing it.
be 18 to buy allergy medication. And when you buy too much at Walmart, they question that. Because I was upset last year. We was all sick. I'm like, hold on. You can't even buy a quantity of allergy or cold medication without being ID or questioned.
So actually the teenagers can't get it. They have to get it from somebody that has to purchase it for them. Okay.
Right.
Well, does any of the teens think that their parents put a leash on them because the parents' actions when they were their child's age rather than their child actually doing something bad?
Let's start over.
This is funny, but this is probably the truth. Does any of the teens think that their parents put a leash on them because of the parents' actions when they were the child's age rather than their child actually doing something bad? I am guilty of this.
Not mine. I am as well too.
I'm guilty of this.
I'll take that one.
Because I knew there's two sides to that, how I want to address it. I did because I knew what I was doing. And I knew. But sometimes I think that when our kids struggle with some of the things that they're struggling with, we forget. We get amnesia, like we are so righteous, like we've never done any of that before. So whoever this was, yeah, I am guilty of that. Scared that they was going to do the same things that I did. And actually, the tighter the leash, they still did it. They find ways to do it. How does reality shows affect teenagers' decisions? Reality shows behavior glorified. I think Jasmine touched on that with the Teen Mom reality show. She was saying how some of the girls at her school are kind of like glad that they're pregnant so they can actually be on the show. This one says, how do you feel about Dominique going on her first date? I'm just joking. Actually, it says, will you be accompanying Dominique on her first prom date? I think I got everything. Did I get everything? You ready to go? Yeah, I guess anything else? Because they say bring it.
Yeah, we're talking about the sixth graders smoking marijuana, smoking weed or whatever you want to call it. I walk to work every day. I live by Stalling Middle School, and I walk to work every day. And walking to work, there's kids waiting for a high school bus and going to Stalling, smoking weed. I'm walking by, I'm like, wow, I'll turn around. Oh, that's Malik's mom. I'm like, well, who are you? And they just hurry trying to get on the bus, hurry trying to, pass on. These are young kids, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. Some of them probably 9th graders. I mean, I'm like, really? And it's amazing. I mean, they early in the morning, it's dark outside. They're trying to get high before they go into school. So, like Dad said, it's a everyday type thing for these young kids to constantly, and I watch kids stand outside the stores by my house trying to get people to go inside and buy them a shell or whatever.
That's not nothing new. We was doing that. We had a store out east. That's not it. Actually, what it is the same stuff repeating itself. They just are doing different types of things. It's the same cycle. It's the same exact cycle when the age, it seems like the age is getting younger, but it's still the same thing. But another question that I didn't see is, what about AIDS? Now I will say this, and I don't know if anybody will touch on this, but herpes is an epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
And herpes, you cannot get rid of herpes. You have them?
No.
Oh. I seen a hand go up like, she's gonna share. I was like, do you care to share?
herpes because we see it all the time. HPV.
What's that?
Genital warts and, HPV in women can cause cervical cancer and things like that. So, most of the doctors are trying to counsel the kids on this, and we found out that these kids are not having intercourse, but they're having oral
Mouth
sex at school.
And a lot of times, I think with that, Tamara, they're thinking that because they're just having the oral sex, that
It's not sex.
it's not sex because they're not actually,
In this one.
they're not, can I say penetrating?
No.
No.
Then I can't say penetrating.
Well,
They're not actually. This is stuff. They can't, they're thinking that they're still, because they're virgins, that they're not having.
Right. And one more comment on if
Intercourse.
Jane knows Joe.
Annie, Jane knows.
Joe
what's her
got
name?
something and Jane wanna be with Joe or
Mhm.
whatever, yeah, that happened. I mean, we've had some girls that have chlamydia because of their
Do they call it the
boyfriends.
claps?
Because of their boyfriends. But they don't, it's like they're scared to approach, because you have to tell the other person you have it so they can be treated and so it can go away, but it usually doesn't. It just keeps going and going and going because Jane won't tell Joe that she got it.
Jane's still
And so
doing
he
it to
can get
Joe.
treated, or he does know he got it, he'll go get treated for it, but he's still dipping and dabbing and she dipping and dabbing and it's just a vicious cycle, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a vicious cycle over and over and over again, and a lot of these girls are messing their bodies up, going into adulthood, and, they not being able to have children and different things, like they're just screwing their whole bodies up.
And it was shared with me that, get this, a high school student pregnant, teacher pregnant, they sharing information and tips and sonograms. Yeah. Sharing sonograms and trading tips, and when one goes to the doctor, she shares it. That when the student goes to the doctor, she shares with the teacher. There's something very, very wrong with that. And I think we're good. We touched on a lot of things. Did we cover everything? We got anything we missing? No, dear Uncle Danny.
Just real quick, I'd like to say that all of you, I admire, or we as adults and parents admire each and every one of you for having the courage to be able to sit there and tell stories that you've seen, that you may or may not have been a part of, and letting other people know in the world that, what is really going on out there. And I would also say that what goes on in your house and what you as a parent may not think your children knows, they know. As my wife and I were growing up, we always said to ourselves that we would not allow our children to be a part of our discussions and or issues, quote unquote, until it got to a point where it was so obvious that it had to become a part of their life. And I would encourage each and every one of you to make sure that you keep the lines of communication open with your parents. And I would also encourage your parents to make sure that you keep the lines of communication open with your children too.
So can we say that you're going to revisit the curfew with Alicia?
I'm not, no.
It's not open for discussion. He wants to ask
You know
why.
what he does though? You give him the curfew and he pushes it.
He
5
pushes it.
after, Money after. So then what I do is I take.
He says situations occur where it has to.
And I explained to y'all.
And
No,
he
somebody
explained
told
to
me
you.
For every, it's either minute or 5 minutes or whatever, push this curfew back 30 minutes. Keep pushing it back.
What if we do this? Why don't we revisit the curfew and then let's set up, because then it'll cost him. Every minute that you're late, you owe your parents $1.
Where are you gonna get the dollar from me?
I don't know.
They give me money, but like,
So it's my dollar.
Or maybe we can put you to work on something that he hates to do,
well,
like.
let's do this. I think that we should push it to 1 o'clock and
Then start
we'll
going.
we'll keep pushing it back.
The first time you're late, it goes back to not just 12 o'clock, but 11:30.
Oh, no. My
Can I say
grown children don't get 1
Can I
o'clock.
say
So,
two things? One, and I'm speaking from my child. One, it's a privilege for me to allow you to stay out as late as you do. And there's some things that your mother and I have discussed that we are not on the same page about in reference to your curfew. That's one point. My second point is my children have, and I think a lot of our kids have been through this and are still going through it. They think they are entitled to being out until 2 o'clock.
What you gonna do with that? What you gonna do with that, Meshach?
And I'll be perfectly honest with you. Some of that entitlement has come from me, has come from my wife. And, so let's not get it twisted here. We grew up a certain way, and we are adults now, and our kids are growing up a certain way, and they're becoming adults now. And, sometimes it is a cycle. And at times you have to take a step back and revisit that cycle, as hard as it may be, because sometimes it's a lot harder to go back than to move forward if you haven't started something already.
Meshach, by you and Kennedy out there.
if I might take that what Danny has said to a spiritual level, the problem with teaching our children that they are entitled causes my job to become more difficult when they actually become adults and they are out of your house. Then as the pastor, I then need to come back and teach them restraints and the fact that they are not entitled in the sight of God, because we're all children in the sight of God. There are things that I would like to do that I can't do. There are certain human proclivities that I have that I cannot engage in because of my relationship with God. No matter how much, if I like pot or if I like prescription drugs, I can't take as many as I want. I can't do that because God won't allow it. My mind has to be clear, and I'm supposed to be sober-minded and not drunk. No matter how many women I like, and I think women are beautiful. I think one of God's most beautiful and precious creations. I think he did it when he made women. I really like women. However, but as a Christian, I recognize that my role with regards to my relationship with women is that I'm allowed to have one. And in order for me to have a relationship with her that is physical, I must be married to her. No matter what my body feels, my God tells me to do something different. Right. And so I'm not entitled to do whatever I want to do, because ultimately the one who is paying the bills for my life is the one who created me.
Yeah.
And because of that, whether you're a child, because someone recently told me, with regards to our teen Bible study, they asked, well, if you can't relate to what the teens have been through, then how can you talk to the teens about what they're going through? I said, because God hasn't changed. Whether you're a teenager or whether you're 80 or whether you're my age, whatever age you are, you're still responsible to God. And because you're responsible to God, someday, and at your age right now, because every one of you are above 13, everybody in this room is above 13 years old. And the fact is, except for maybe a couple, the fact is, tonight, for those of us who are over the age of 13, tonight, on this very night, we are responsible for our soul with God.
That's right.
Yes, we are.
And that's really what it boils down to, is we are responsible for our soul with God. Now, if you think that sex, drugs, and everything else is worth eternal damnation, then enjoy.
That's right.
But if you think it's not, then there must be restraints and there must be restrictions. And it starts at a young age. The Bible tells parents to train up a child in the way it should go, and when it's old, it won't depart from it. And so you might think it's rough now, oh, they won't let me stay out till 9 or what. Anything you can do after midnight, you can do before midday. Anything that's right. But oftentimes what happens, let's be honest. After midnight, there's parties going on, and yes, there's drinking going on. There's a whole lot of sex going on in back seats and floors and in the park and everywhere else.
That's right. That's right. That's
See,
right.
because the freaks still come out at night. They do it in the park in the dark, and so on and so forth. I do know that. And so I haven't just arrived at this age, and you can just tell me, oh, well, we're not doing anything. Oh, yes, you are. Let's be honest. And y'all got real quiet when I said I read your Facebooks and your Twitter. Because, you know, I know you. Okay? So, again, it's not even like that. And you know that I've been one who's as a pastor, I'm very open. You can almost come and tell me anything. And I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm just going to share the word with you. And this is what Scripture say. And then you make the decision. But for all of us in this room, none of us are entitled to override the will of God. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. Whether old or young.
Well, how can we come back from off of that? Let's just leave with that in our minds. Thank you for joining us again, and good